Hi there, I'm Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media.
And I'm Jenni Walk from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and you're tuning into Bite-Sized Business Life Podcast, the show that helps business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business.
Whether you're launching, ready to scale, or figuring out what's next, we discuss the nitty-gritty, the hard bits, the opportunities, and the behind the scenes, and share how we've grown our own companies and helped others do the same.
We're glad you're here.
You're tuning into Bite-Sized Business Life Podcast, the show that helps small businesses owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business. Hello, Kylie. How are you today on this fine Monday morning?
Good to see you, Jenni, but it's not Monday where you are, is it?
No, it's not. It's Sunday afternoon at around 2:30 in the afternoon, I think. We're hanging out at the First Class Lounge in LAX on the way home from a week of coaching in Orlando. So it's been a very big day and a very big week, but I'm so excited to be chatting to you today.
So am I, especially because we have such a good topic. So while some people are just frantically scrambling to finish out the year, and I'm seeing a lot of people posting just saying, we're done, we're exhausted, blah, blah, blah. But this is such an important time to actually take a look at what went well this year and what can you do next year that's slightly different, or where should your focus go for next year?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things, right? We get to the end of the year, we all get a little bit tired. We're all going to be like, oh my God, I'm over it. When's my break? And when is my shutdown period? But I get really energized in December. And I think coming off the back of a coaching program the last week, I'm even more energized. But to me, December is a time of year to say, what do I want 2025 or the next year to look like? What am I going to do differently? How am I going to grow? And what do I need to start doing today to help me start building into next year? And so that's what I think is the power of December, right? We think of December as the festive season, is hanging out, but really it's an opportunity to really focus and really reset your goals for the next year.
Yes, absolutely. And you said something just before we went live, which is very similar to what I just said in my coaching group, where I'm upskilling in more exciting ad stuff. And you said looking at the possibilities of what's to come. And last week I did a big shout out in a Facebook group with my coaching group, just saying, I just want to do a shout out about this phenomenal program that I'm in, because what it makes me feel like is the possibilities are endless. And that's exactly what you just said. So there's nothing so inspiring than being around people that absolutely make you believe the possibilities are endless.
Oh, I completely agree. And to be honest, I've had a massive, this whole year has been a huge year for us. We've had a very, very successful year. We've been able to build in some beautiful clients and run some amazing programs, which are really excited. Empire Builders, we've had a couple this year and they've been phenomenal. The last Empire Builders we ran a couple of weeks ago was honestly life-changing for the people who were in there. And I can say that because that's what they've told me. And so now I'm thinking bigger. I'm like, how do we create this impact? How do we start to see opportunities? And when we sit down today and go, what is possible? Not what we're doing, not what can we do, but what is possible? What is, if we had all the things in the world that we needed, what would that look like? So that's where I'm sitting at the moment. I think it's a really great time in in December to sit down and say, what do we want to see in the future? And what does that look like for us? And it gives us that opportunity, and literally that opportunities become endless when you think of that way.
Absolutely, they do. I've been really having a good hard look at this in the last month myself, for my own business, for my clients, and just looking at, this was a big learning year, I think, for everyone. For you, it's been phenomenally successful. For others, it's been a bit of a scramble. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes for a lot of people, and cost of living crisis and all kinds of things. So it's been another time for pivoting, and also for looking at, what do we want our business to look like, and how do we make sure next year is really heading down the road for our goals. And so I really put it into about 5 things that I think would be really important to look at and do differently, or to focus on more. And I'm sure you've got a bunch of things that are just so important that we need to visit.
Yeah.
I'll share one of mine, and that would be about getting really personal on Facebook. Now, that doesn't say what I had for dinner or what I'm doing with my kid or anything like that. It's about sharing you, and it's not oversharing. We don't need any more of that because there's a lot of that going on already. But when it comes back to that client attraction marketing. When you put yourself out there, the right people are going to resonate with that and want to then come and find out more about you, whether that's even just following on your socials, whatever it is. But that personal branding piece has never, ever, ever been more important than it is right now. So coming up with some really tailored campaigns, some targeted content, ads, for example, but really getting you in there more so than ever before. That would be my number one thing to think about. What about you, Jenni?
I think it's a really important point. What I've learned, particularly in the last couple of months, it's around trust building. Like fundamentally, everything that we do is about relationships and trust. We like to think it's about the product. We like to think it's about the price. We like to think about all those little things. But fundamentally, it's about relationships and trust. And you can't do that unless you're presenting yourself and showing yourself up in a really authentic way. So for me, my lesson, I think, in my movement towards, I think, 2025 is about being really honest and open a little bit more than we have been. And we're pretty transparent about what our highs and our lows, but about saying, okay, this is what the process looks like. This is what it is to be an entrepreneur. This is what it is to grow your business. And when you start to do that, you connect with people and you get to build that trust. And through that trust, you build relationships. And we've done that incredibly successfully in our consulting programs and our consulting work because we spend a lot of time nurturing those relationships. And we forget sometimes when we go online that we have to do the same process. It just feels a little arm's length, but actually the people who are reading our content and reading the amazing content that's being produced by you and your team and your clients is actually about building relationships and trust. And so it's the same thing, but just done in a virtual world.
Absolutely. Because we've got to remember that if we're not out there online and getting super visible, we could be the most amazing at what we do in the world. But if they can't find us and they don't know about what we really do, then we're invisible, aren't we?
100%. And I think visibility is so key. And I think it's more important at the moment about visibility. And that would be my piece for next year, is around the first piece is how do we actually start showing up across every platform? So there are some platforms that we don't prefer to use, but maybe my clients are there. Maybe I need to start thinking about how do I become visible across all the different platforms and thinking of different ways to leverage that, right? So it's not just about doing your single post and saying, I've done the post, I've done the social media, but how do we leverage that? How do we put that into groups? How do we share that across different platforms? How do we get people who like us and trust us to actually leverage our social posts beyond what we're doing? So talking to people and saying, hey, can you share that post and can you leverage the work that I'm doing so we get visibility in a broader audience? Because visibility is what's going to create exponential growth if that's what you're after. And if you just want sustained kind of consistent growth, visibility is going to do that too, whether it's sharing across multiple programs, whether clients sharing testimonials, all of those link back to visibility. And I think that's a piece that we often forget about when we're talking about social. We think of know, like, trust. If we take that back, and you talk about this so much in your programs, it's about fundamentally, first step, visibility. Can people find you? Can they see you? Do they know who you are? And if you can't get that piece, everything after that becomes mute.
Absolutely. So that leads me nicely into my second point, which is about video. And with these days, it's not just about short form. We've also got the option to make longer form. Some of the platforms are really stretching out what we're actually able to put out there. Still vertical, obviously, unless you're on YouTube, but still vertical video, but trying it out. So, for example, when I'm creating a script and I'm timing it out for some videos that I want to make, I'll do a 15-second, a 30-second, a 60-second, and often a 3-minute script. And then I can test them, see which one actually has better reach.
Yeah. And I think visibility, and I love that long form. I mean, you know, my aversion to video, I love doing this every week with you. I love being on, I do spend a lot of my time on Teams or doing webinars almost probably 5 times a week at a minimum. And I love doing videos, but when it gets to short form video or even long form video on socials, I struggle, and my team listen to this will be like, yeah, we've told you that. But I recognize now also it's taken me a year, people. I'm listening to you now, team, and I'm listening to you, Kylie, that yes, doing videos and being able to get visible and, you know, repurposing content, right? So it's about the video content and how do you do it for one place and then repurpose that again. To me, there's this, I guess my word for 2025 might be leverage, in a good way, not in a negative way, but that idea of saying, how do you actually use video to actually get connections? And that's what I love is, right. I'm not a person who scrolls social media. Let's face it. I don't sit there and scroll social media. But if I am doing it, the ones that I stop at are those little crazy ones where people are having, I don't know, weird memes and conversations to you, right? And that's what's actually connecting with me. It's not the static posts. And I know that. And I know that we are looking for a connection. And between wanting to build a relationship and building trust, video is a fundamental and a really quick and easy way to do that with your clients and your potential clients.
For sure. And less of the stock footage or stock photos. So, for example, for those people listening that really don't want themselves on camera, which, you know, Jenni and I, that's not our favorite thing either. But often I'll just take a little video of it at the beach. So it's not even me. It might be my dog, or it might be the ocean. And I'll put a great little caption with it. And, you know, with a special message, and then boom, overlay, and then in the caption, find out more about it. But there's so many ways that we can create some great video without it always having to be our own face or us talking.
Yeah. And I think and it goes back to the point of thinking about how do you like to play in the world? We recognize that in business that we have to be a little bit uncomfortable. And, you know, one of the famous comments is growth happens on the edge of uncomfortability, right? When you get to uncomfortable, if it's uncomfortable, if you do it a bit longer, it becomes comfortable, and then you push yourself and you push your boundaries. And I know I'm doing that with video and other formats as well, but I think that need to show up and just push yourself a little bit beyond to recognize the value it's given to your business. It's one of those things as a business owner, we have to remember there are some things we need to do in business, like taxes and BAS and reconciliations, that we don't love doing, but we do them because they're important to running the business. Being on social, showing up on social media, showing up for your clients is one of those things that you have to do to grow your community. And your community is what's going to actually help you build your business. It's all the other things only happen because you've got a great community supporting you.
Absolutely. And the amount of people that book a strategy chat with me and start by saying, by the way, I hate social media. I just know I have to be there because I know my business should be, but I don't want to be there. And I'm like,
yeah.
But where are your people? Where your people are is where you need to be. So if you prefer, go and do like the politicians do. I remember when I've been up in Brisbane before around election time, and there's all the big signs on the corner of the streets, and the people walking around with them. We don't see much of that down here, but I always find that pretty funny. It's so old school. So if that's really what you want to do, then do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, showing up on socials is such a powerful way to get super visible. My next one that I thought was so important that we really focus on for next year is all about how do people buy from you. So making your buying process so much easier. So whether that's a product, whether that's a service, whether that's, like I just mentioned before, booking just a free strategy chat, what is it that you want people to do, and what does that process look like to someone that is just brand new? So they might see some cool social posts, then they're like, okay, I'm going to go and look at your bio, and then click on a link and go find out, how can I find out more about what you do or how I might work with you? And then there's nothing there. Or there's a link tree with 20,000 things in it and everybody's confused. So getting really, really clear and succinct in what is that buying process.
I love that. And we had that conversation recently about what's the buyer's journey, right? Where are they dropping in? Where are they dropping out of your funnel? What does your funnel look like fundamentally? I think it's a really important thing for people to start doing. And we should be doing this all the time in a business, not just now and preparing for the next year, but understanding what your funnel is, what your customer journey is, whatever you want to call that process for your business. But knowing what those points look like and how you're engaging with them is really critical. Like, you can't have a business if you're not going to invite people in for the sale. We know that they need to have an opportunity to purchase. They need to have an opportunity to connect with you. And if that's a discovery call, if that's a link to buy, if that's a link to join a webinar, whatever that looks like for you, understanding and following that process through so you're meeting your buyer where they're at is critical to get the best engagement and the best success from all the work you're doing on your social or whatever your advertising or marketing is. But I think it goes one step for that. And for me, at this time of year, I think it's a really great opportunity for people to actually sit down and say, what do they want their customers to do or buy from you? So even stepping before that and saying, where are we going to engage? It's what is your product and services? Are you meeting the market where they're in the need? Is your product still relevant? Are you still getting people saying, yeah, this is the best thing I've ever done? Or do you need to make tweaks in it if it's a service of some form? But really aligning those service offerings and that product offering to that aspects of access, I think is really critical. So those points, because then if your product mix changes, your access points need to change, your connection points need to change. And you can do that with a funnel process that I know you do. You can do that with understanding what your product mix are or what your client is, but mapping that out for your business, that's what I use December for. In fact, I've got a meeting with our team my team next week and the week after to say, okay, what do our products and services look like? Coming off the coaching this week, my mind is going a bit crazy. We're planning our empire builders in the US next year. And so our funnels are all changing constantly because our product development is changing. So making sure that we're constantly aligned for that, I think, is really important as you start to kind of lean into 2025.
Absolutely. And maybe something you're offering is a little bit stagnant or stale. And maybe there's actually nothing wrong with it. You just need to change the messaging around it. Or maybe it really is stale and maybe it's time to put it up. But so this actually brings me into point number 4, which is you can really only know these things when you look at your analytics and you look at your data and you see and that's from everything from your socials to your sales to everything. What is it that's getting people to take some kind of action? And you can't know that until you look at your statistics, at your data.
Alice, agreed. It's fundamentally agree. Know where your income is coming from, know where your people are coming from, know how they're finding you. We made a very small change in our business about a month ago or 2 months ago where I put a page up about the cultural competency training that I've been doing for 4 years. I don't advertise it on my website, never have. Put it one page up. And since we put that one page up, we've had 5 direct inquiries from corporates through one page that I did. I did predominantly because we're doing a campaign that I needed to have the page up. But actually the leads that have come from just people generally who are like, oh, I didn't know you did that. Let me lean into that. So sometimes it's unexpected. Sometimes it's like, well, I know people should know that I do something, right? If they don't know it and they can't find you, then you need to fix that tip. But I think your analytics definitely tell you that where your client's coming from. Is it through social? Is it through your landing pages? Is it through your email marketing? How are you getting people into you? Knowing that is really critical for success long term. It may not feel like it short term, but it's that long term metrics that we're looking at and long term kind of trends is what we use that data for.
And if you don't know where to start with that, just jump into the Instagram app on your phone and go into the insights in there, because it's the littlest things that you can find out. For example, what percentage male or female, what kind of age group is there? Like with the ads we're working on with our clients at the moment, it's astounding when you look at what that gender and demographic and everything's going on and behind the scenes, because often it's different to what they thought it would be. And their sales are coming in from a whole audience they didn't know about.
And I think it's I like that concept of starting small, right? So you don't have to do all the metrics all the time, right? It's what is the metrics that are relevant to you? Start there, and from that you'll start to realize the value of your other metrics. But I love the idea of just starting really simply with your Instagram metrics, because they're so easily accessible. As are the ones if you go to the Meta platform, you can have the same conversation. Or if you go into Meta Business Suite, right, you'll be able to see that those metrics and that demographics really clearly. Love that as an idea.
So my 5th one is actually, we've mentioned it all along the way while we've been talking, which is purpose-driven branding. So that might be, like I just said about, if it's a bit stagnant, maybe you just need to make it look different or show it up differently. Or maybe also one thing that we do is each of our courses or programs has its own logo, for example, its own look, its own branding. Maybe that's not right for you, maybe just one overall, but whatever it is that works for you. But you need to look at what is happening with your branding and the messages that you're putting out to the world.
100% agree. Like I think as the digital marketing specialist and the branding guru that I see you as, Kylie, That is fundamental. We've had so many conversations about identifying, and whether it's naming your product, as simple as naming the product that you're offering. Is there a name? I do some coaching. Is there a name that I can attach to that? Is there a brand that we can connect that with, so people then connect with the name and the process and the program rather than just a thing, and your logos and the way that you show up with that and all the kind of the look and feel that is so critical. Again, it goes back to our very first point about building trust in relationships.
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, if you're a product-based business and you're Australian made, you need to actually invest, spend those few $100s a year to actually be able to then use the Australian made logo. We've got clients that do it. We tag them in every post, and then next thing you know, the Australian made campaign is resharing that content and getting it out to a whole bunch of new people that didn't know about them before. Jenni, you do it so well with your B Corp certification, and that's on your website. Everybody could see. So making sure that it's super clear, whatever you're affiliated with, whatever it is that's really going to help your brand appear in a super positive way, that you're making an impact. It's so important to share those brand missions, values, and
I think it is.
goals.
I think 100%. And to your point there, in terms of, I think not only about that vision and that process and that branding, it's also about saying, well, what is that leading to? What are the goals of the business? What are you trying to achieve, and how do you want to show up? When I look at my business goals and my business, what am I trying to achieve in my business mission and goals? It aligns with my value structure, it aligns with who I want to be and how I want the company to show up. So all those things are aligned. So while we're talking about marketing and product mix and all those other things, they're in service of reaching a goal or reaching some form of outcome for your business. And they need to be value aligned. Now, I don't often use the word need, but in this case, they need to be aligned with some value set, because that's what people are connecting with now. They're not just connecting with a blank product or a blank service. They're connecting with a need or a value. And so they want to understand, if I use this product, what's the value to me? What's the value to you? And what's the value to my community? And we're seeing a real shift to that kind of conversation in the market. And people are making choices around value structure, not just around product.
Absolutely. And that again is all about showing up as you, and that client attraction marketing piece. And because what you value, what you're aligned with, that's going to attract those that are also that way.
Yeah, agreed. I think the key thing, I think, from the conversation today is really around saying, and I know you've got one more point to share with us before we close out today.
5. That was it.
Oh, was that 5? I thought that was 4. I'm so excited about the conversations. I can't count clearly. Is that it's around actually taking stock of all the different aspects of your business, right? Whether it's December, whether it's January, but if it's not December, then definitely do it in January, please. But you've got a couple more weeks left of December. Use this time to think about, how do I want to show up next year? How do I consolidate my business? How do I make sure that each element of my business actually looks to each other and talks to each other in a way that's consistent? So no matter whether they're reaching us out on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is that you use for your business, that there's a consistent messaging and that it aligns with all those things that Kylie's been talking about: your brand, your product mix, your values, the relationship, the trust that you're trying to build. Is the consistency across those platforms and the way that you're promoting your business, and then does that align with what you're trying to achieve with your business? If you don't get that kind of alignment, then you end up kind of throwing money at the wall hoping it's going to work. And if you have an alignment and you can see this consolidated process, it ensures that your business is going to actually create an ecosystem for your business, essentially using all those things to build and grow rather than just ad hoc. And that's really what I want to see for 2025 for the people who've been listening to us for many years, is let's put 2025 into around systems and processes to grow a business. Let's focus on, what do we want to achieve in our business? What does that look like? Whether you join my program or Kylie's program or another coaching program, I want you to I would love to see from our audience to really focus on, what do I want to achieve from 2025? What are my goals, my mission, my purpose, and how does that align with the way that I market, the products I sell, the price points I have, the trust I'm building, and the relationships I have with my customers? If you can do that as a consolidated effort, next year is going to be a phenomenal year for you.
Woo! I love that. That was beautifully summed up. Absolutely.
On a mission.
Yes. So how can people get in touch with you, Jenni?
Kylie, for people who want to catch up with us, you can go to @elephantintheroomu on Insta and Facebook. That gets all our links. Or you can go to our website @elephantintheroomu.com, and you'll be able to find our links to our Empire Builders program and our consulting work. And Kylie, how about you? How do people connect with you?
Jump over to, on our website, hellomedia.team. book a free strategy chat and let's get into seeing where you need to make some changes next year.
Love. This is probably, I think we have one or two more before the end of the year, which I'm excited about. We'll close out the next couple of weeks. But for those who are listening, I really would love you to focus on what are you going to do in the next month that's going to prepare you for the next year. You've got plenty of time. Just take an hour, take 10 minutes a day, take a half day, whatever you can take to actually start aligning your business and reset your business. And then in the next couple of weeks, we'll catch up and see how you're going. But so nice to chat with you again, as always, Kylie. Look forward to talking to you next week. For those who are tuning in, thanks so much for joining us again on this episode of Bite Size Business Life Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes. It's so great to have you in our community. Thanks so very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks
Bye,
so
everyone.
much.
Bye, Kylie.